Hello and welcome to my September wrap-up. September is over and it's now time for October. I say this every year, but every year it stays the same. Time just flies by so quickly. It is already October. So let's talk about September because there is a lot to talk about for September. Like, this is gonna be a long video. So let's strap in and get going. So obviously we are going to start with the books that I have read this month. This month I read a lot of books. I've read 6 books. Look at all of them. It would have been 7, but I'm still trying to find how to get Username Uprising into my hands. So the first book I read this month is Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. This is the 3rd book in a trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be a duology, but they ended up getting a 3rd book for the series, which I'm so happy they did because it needed more closure and more of an ending than the 2nd book had. This is just a very cute young adult romance contemporary novel. The 1st book in the series is called To All the Boys I Loved Before, and it's about this girl, Lara Jean, who every time that she has a crush on a boy and like the crush is over kind of a thing, she writes a letter and like addresses it, stamps it, all this stuff, but just never sends it out. And then one day all of her letters get sent out. Even though I still wanted more of an ending, I still think this book wrapped things up nicely. I just kind of want to see her in her college years. This is such a heartwarming story that is not just about love, but it also has such a great family dynamic, and I absolutely love that about this series. It's also got such a really great friendship dynamic too, because Chris and Lara Jean, they have such a really great friendship. It kind of reminds me of my friendship with my friend Colleen, and it just, that just makes me feel so good inside. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Pax by Sari Pennypacker and illustrated by John Klassen. This is, number one, just such a beautiful book. I mean, look at that. And then it's also beautiful naked, like it's this beautiful shade of green. And then we've got a gold fox, but there's like plants engraved all over the book and then on the back as well. I don't know if you can see it. And it's got the deckled edges. Ugh, I love how beautiful this book looks. This is a middle grade book about a young boy and his pet fox, and it's just kind of about friendship and like the true cost of war, because this book actually does deal with a lot of heavy topics like war. And I'm glad that they didn't dumb it down for the kids. Like, they still kept it very complex, but at the same time still understandable, that a kid can understand what's going on. I really liked the dual perspectives of this book. Like, we saw the perspective of the young boy as well as the fox. I did like the fox's perspective more than the boy's perspective. I was just always more excited to know what the fox was up to, but also I felt the boy's perspective wasn't as realistic or as believable as the fox's. This is such a beautiful story, but the ending. The ending just seemed very unfulfilling and too quick. Like, I just felt like we went through this whole journey and it just ended like that, and it just seemed like the whole thing was for nothing. I don't want to give the ending away at all, but I just was not, it was just an unfulfilling ending. Overall, I thought it was just a beautiful story that could have stolen my heart, but it didn't quite do that. So I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, A Man Called Uwe by Fredrik Backman. I have been so excited to read a Fredrik Backman book, and I finally did. And I'm so happy I did because the writing is just absolutely wonderful. This is a story about a very mean, angry old man. You know, those old men in the neighborhoods that are always like, "Get off my lawn, kid." And you see the whole story from his perspective, and you go into flashbacks about his life in the past and how he kind of became the man he is today, which is a mean old man. But then these new neighbors move in and they kind of throw off his sense of control and order in the neighborhood and in his life. In the beginning, you really hate him because I know I was absolutely hating him in the beginning, but you really do fall in love with him and you understand him. I thought it was a little bit melodramatic at times, but still a really great story. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, The Love Interest by Cale Dietrich. This is a standalone young adult book. I believe it's standalone. This book, I mean, the one line at the back of the book really explains this well. It says, 2 spies, 1 girl. Whoever gets her to fall in love with him lives, meaning the other one dies. But the twist with this story is that the 2 guys start falling for each other. So I actually really enjoyed this story. I mean, anything with spies in it, I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna want to read it. It was a little bit cheesy and the characters were kind of flat. As long as you don't take this book too seriously, you'll like it. This is just a really light, fun read. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, How to Steal the Mona Lisa and 6 Other World-Famous Treasures by Taylor Bayuth. This is, I guess, nonfiction. I'm not 100% sure, but this just teaches you how to steal the Mona Lisa. And what are some of the other things? Oh, King Tutankhamun's Golden Death Mask, the Rodin's Thinker. And it seems so realistic, but also super crazy and ridiculous at the same time, but also amazing. As you continue reading the book, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and just so out there, but it also still seems so believable at the same time. I don't know, this was just a fun read. And I also like that at the beginning it teaches you how to come up with disguises, how to pick a lock, all the things you're going to need to know for stealing these objects. And at the end it teaches you how to sell in the black market, teaches you money laundering. It's crazy and fun and amazing, but really cheesy and out there and maybe a bit too much. But I still really liked it, so I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read this month is Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo, the Wonder Woman book for the new DC Icons series that is coming out. And this is the first in the installment. So this is just a completely different story from the movie. Just forget the movie ever happened when you're reading this book. So this book takes place in the modern world, and Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, ends up going on this adventure with this girl who is a warbringer. I'll just read what it says in here, but a warbringer is fated to bring about an age of bloodshed and misery. So there's like a really big war that's about to happen, and people are trying to kill her because if they kill her, then the war won't happen. But Diana Prince tries to save her life and finds a way to end the warbringer line. But they have to go on this huge adventure, and it is really fun. I absolutely loved this book. Granted, I love Leigh Bardugo, so I knew I was going to love this book. I did think it kind of started off a little bit slow, but then it really got into it towards the middle. This book is in 2 different perspectives. You've got Diana Prince's perspective and Aaliyah's perspective, but I felt a lot of the times the perspectives were kind of similar, and there were times where I couldn't really remember whose perspective I was reading from. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this story and this crazy ride that it took me on. And yeah, so I absolutely loved it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And those are the books I read. Now on to the movies that I watched. The first movie that I watched this month was a new one, and it is called Two States. And it is a Bollywood film. My new roommate had her family over, and they were watching this movie, and I decided to join them just for funsies. Did not realize it was going to go on as long as it did. I think it was like almost 3 hours, but it was just typical cheesy Bollywood, and so I quite enjoyed it. I loved the musical numbers. The Two States was basically about this guy and this girl. They meet on a train. She's quite annoying in the beginning, to be honest. She just will never shut up, and he is just very calm and reserved, and they meet on the train. They end up getting off the train and not being able to make it back on the train, and so they're trying to get back on the train, and they're going on this adventure together. He just ends up getting her home because the train was just a nightmare. But they kind of end up falling in love during this whole adventure. This one's a tough one to explain, but it was just a really cute, cheesy Bollywood movie. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is Descendants 2. I watched it again for the 4th time. I just really love this movie, like a lot. A lot. I didn't realize I was gonna love a Disney Channel movie so much, but I did. I've already talked about this movie, so I don't need to talk about it again. And then I also watched Kingsman, The Secret Service, and then I also watched Allegiant again. And then I watched Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle. I mean, I definitely liked the first movie a lot better than this one, because I did have some issues with this, but it was just so great to watch another Kingsman movie because I just get so much enjoyment out of watching them. And of course, Taron Egerton and Colin Firth, like, yes, I love them. So first of all, I felt the storyline, like the plot and some of the lines that were said as well, were pretty predictable, and so that just made it a little bit sloppy. I also did not like Julianne Moore's character. I definitely felt Samuel L. Jackson's villain was way better than Julianne Moore's villain. I also felt like she had a very quick and uneventful end. I definitely wanted there to be a fight with her and Colin Firth and Taron Egerton. Like, I wanted there to be a fight, and there wasn't. I mean, the fight scenes were still good. I still very much enjoyed watching the fight scenes. I think I preferred watching the fight scenes with Charlie and Eggsy way more than any of the other fights. I think it was just because I didn't really like the lasso added to the fights. I don't know. I was not into the lasso. I thought the lasso was stupid. Also, they like really marketed Channing Tatum in this movie, but he was barely in it. Like, I wanted so much more Channing Tatum, but I didn't get that. I really loved Elton John. At first, I was just kind of like, okay, just to throw in a celebrity in there, let's get Elton John, cool, whatever. But by the end, he actually got in, like, the fight scenes, and he was fucking badass and so cool. Another thing that I was really upset about and kind of mad about, I don't want to give anything away, but they killed off a character towards the very beginning that I thought was going to be in the entire movie. I mean, I don't know if they killed this character. They kind of hinted and suggested that the character got killed, but they might bring this character back for the third movie. Be like, oh, this person's actually alive, just like they did with Charlie and Colin Firth for this Kingsman 2 movie. I did really appreciate that they explained how Colin Firth and Charlie are actually alive and not dead. But overall, I enjoyed this movie, but just not as much as I wanted to, so I gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I hate doing that to a Kingsman movie. The next movie I watched was the Lego Ninjago movie, and I love the Lego movie. I love the Lego Batman movie. This one, kind of did not love. It's upsetting because I had such high hopes and high expectations for this movie because the other ones did so well and were so good. This one just really fell through for me. I definitely felt there were not enough jokes, and the jokes that were said were just dragged on too long, and they were just not good. And I just felt like they focused too much on the father and son dynamic of the story rather than the actual journey that they were on and the quest that they were on. So that kind of just made it boring for me. I mean, my favorite character is definitely the Lightning Ninja. He had the only good jokes in the movie. I did not like this as much as I wanted to, so I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. And the last movie that I watched this month was American Assassin. I definitely enjoyed this movie, but there were some holes. It kind of just felt like they deleted some scenes, and you could definitely tell that they deleted scenes because it just felt like there was something missing, and like, oh, did we miss something? Because I don't understand how, whatever. I definitely felt that Dylan O'Brien, Michael Keaton, and Taylor Kitsch were the only good actors in the movie. I felt like everyone else just didn't cut it for me. There were definitely a lot of cliche, roll my eyes parts. I mean, when I went with my friend Jordan and also my friend Carl, who was visiting, but I constantly would turn to Jordan and like we would both turn to each other and just roll our eyes at like certain parts of the movie. Also, the name for Taylor Kitsch in the movie, I mean, I felt they could have come up with something so much better than Ghost. like Ghost. I feel like every villain in a action thriller movie is named Ghost. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was definitely your generic espionage thriller movie that's not gonna stand out from the others. But, I mean, it was still a fun time, so I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Alright, and those were the movies that I watched. Okay, so now let's talk about my favorite moments. First favorite moment is I went to a book signing for Adam Silvera, and again, my lovely cousin Tori joined me. I love Adam Silvera. This is, I think, the 3rd time I've met him, and I really enjoy his books, number 1. And number 2, I really enjoy him as a person. Watching him and his interviews and discussions during book signings, he is just so fun. But he was doing a book signing for his brand new book that just came out. They Both Die at the End, but he signed it with a happy face. So my next favorite moment, some people came to visit Los Angeles. It was really fun and exciting. Carl came to visit. He was here for a week, but I only really saw him once, and that was last night. We went out to dinner. We then went to the movies and saw American Assassin. And it was just really great to see Carl because I don't think I've seen him since I had graduated. The main person that came to visit, she came specifically to visit moi. And I also haven't seen her in like 2 years. But that is Thompson Jaffe. Oh my god, she was here for 3 days. She slept over. We had a blast. We did some really fun things. Oh my god, what did we even do?
We are sisters, we stand together, we make up one big family, no we don't love. Break it! If you care about your health, seriously, you need to not be yourself. Wanna be cool?
My next favorite moment, I got to go to a live showing of Dancing with the Stars. I unfortunately have no footage of this because the security took our phones before we even walked into the building, which is so upsetting because I wanted to show you guys everything that happened there. It was so fun. Watching it live in the stage studio area, oh my god. If you ever go to a live taping of Dancing with the Stars, for the 20 minutes before the show starts, you are allowed to dance on that stage. So I danced on that stage. Since I also went by myself, they moved me to the front of the line to get into the studio because I ended up being a seat filler. But unfortunately no one ever needed a seat filled, so I just kind of stayed in my little corner that they put me in. But it's okay because that corner was the corner where Tom Bergeron constantly got makeup touch-ups and like clothing touch-ups and would just go over scripts with someone there. So I was just like, oh my god, Tom Bergeron's standing right next to me. Some really cool things that happened as well. Derek Fisher came by when we were all outside waiting to get in, and he shook our hands and did autographs as well. Len Goodman one time walked by me, winked at me, and said hello. And my last favorite moment of this month actually hasn't happened yet. I'm actually filming this the day before the end of October, so it's gonna happen in October. It just hasn't happened yet. It's happening tomorrow. But by the time you guys see this, it will have already happened. So I have footage of it. But basically, Charlie's Angels is getting back together. I'm so excited. In case you don't know, my friend Alex, and my friend Chelsea, we call ourselves the Charlie's Angels. It's been a while since I've seen these girls, and these are some of my favorite people that I have met out here in Los Angeles and became friends with, and I cannot wait to hang out with them. I believe we are doing miniature golf tomorrow. If that changed, you can obviously see in the footage that it changed, but as of right now, it is miniature golfing that we are doing, and then also going out for drinks and just a fun time, and I cannot wait to see these girls. I miss them so much. So those are my favorite moments. Now let's talk about my favorite things this month. I do only have 3 things to talk about, so it's not too much. And actually, all the things I'm about to talk about are on my face right now. The first is this. It is L'Oreal Infallible Pro Spray and Set Makeup Extender Setting Spray. That was a lot. As I've mentioned before, my friend Hannah went to BeautyCon and she let me rummage through her things and take some stuff that I wanted. So this is one of the stuff that I took. Actually, all the stuff that I'm about to show you for favorite things are stuff that I took from that. So they're all from BeautyCon. So this is a little sampler setting spray, and you just put your makeup on and then you spray it on your face, and it helps make your makeup last longer and not melt on your face, especially in the heat. I liked it. I don't know if it actually works, to be honest, because I've never had the misfortune of makeup fading, but I still just like to use it, especially if I'm putting on a lot of makeup and I'm going out somewhere for a long time, like Dancing with the Stars. Want to make sure my makeup stays on and looks great. The next thing I want to talk about is this. It is on my lips right now. I actually really love this. This is, again, another L'Oreal product, and it is Infallible Paints. It is basically a matte liquid lipstick. I'm trying to figure out what color this is. Oh, ooh, the color is called Velvet Pout. I usually don't go for darker shades of lipstick. I usually just stick with red or pink or nude. But when I saw this, I was like, just do it, Ellen. Be daring, be bold, go for it. And I've actually worn this quite a bit this month. Even Thompson wore this, and she really loved it as well. So I really enjoyed this color on my face. I just really love the applicator. It goes on super smooth, but it just has that little indent, so it just fits perfectly on the mouth when you put the lipstick on. I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, no, pretty dang cool. And my last favorite thing is this Peaches and Clean Deep Cleansing Milk. This obviously is a little sample packet, but I definitely want to get this like for realsies because this is incredible. It's basically like a moisturizer, but I guess it's made of milk, and it does actually smell of peaches. I would put this on my face every night before bed, so I'd like wash all the makeup off, clean my face, and then I would end with this, and oh my god, it makes my skin feel so smooth, and when I wake up in the morning, there's actually not a lot of oil on my face, which is so surprising because usually when I wake up in the morning, my face is pretty oily, but putting this on, it still was a little bit oily, but not as much as it usually is, so that was very exciting. And of course, my face just feels so smooth and clean, and I really like this a lot, so I definitely want to get like the real deal for this. Alright, now let's talk about TV shows. I have started watching a lot of TV shows because the fall season is now starting, but I'm not going to talk about those new fall TV shows because I've only really watched maybe one episode of some of them, so I want to watch a few more episodes before I really talk about them. So I'm just going to talk about the shows that I've watched multiple episodes of. So that is just going to be two shows I'm going to talk about. Number one, Teen Wolf. I'm only talking about this though because it has just ended, and Teen Wolf was one of my favorite TV shows. I absolutely enjoyed it. It definitely went downhill after 3B. Like after 3B, it just kind of fell flat for me, but this final season, this final episode, I was really hoping they do well with it, but most of it was just kind of boring throughout. I mean, I still enjoyed it, obviously, but I think maybe taking Styles out of it made the show kind of boring. Oh, I'm sorry. But the finale was definitely great. I was hoping the finale would be like a 2-hour special instead of just normal 1 hour. I love, of course, that they brought back a lot of characters, and I'm happy with how they ended it as well. I thought it was a good ending, and the finale was definitely a good episode. It just was not the best, and I was just expecting a little bit more from a finale. But I still really enjoyed it, and I'm really sad to see this show go. And the other show I want to talk about is The Office. I just decided to binge watch this show. I don't know why, but I did, and I'm so glad I did. I have not finished this show yet. I'm still in the middle of season 8. So I am almost done, but I watched a good 7 seasons this month. This show is absolutely hysterical. I love it. It is so crazy and out there, but I love it. I mean, it kind of is self-explanatory, The Office. It's about these people in a Scranton office for a paper company. I will say, once Steve Carell left, I felt like it wasn't as funny anymore. It started going downhill. I don't know, getting rid of Steve Carell, just like a whole dynamic of the show left with him. And it's still funny, but it just definitely feels a little bit more lackluster. I am absolutely loving this show, and I can't wait to finish it. And last but not least, we're gonna talk about my favorite song of the month. It was really hard to pick a favorite song of the month just because I was still listening to a lot of Descendants 2 songs, and I already used a Descendants 2 song last month, so I wanted to kind of switch it up, but I didn't really know what songs to use, so I wasn't really into many songs this month, but I eventually chose one, and it's one that I was kind of jamming to in my car a lot to work, and that is Strip That Down. And I was actually really surprised to find out that this song is by Liam Payne. And Liam Payne was a part of One Direction, but now he's gone solo, just like all the other boys have gone solo and all have hit songs out as well. I really enjoy this song a lot. I don't really know what else to say about it, so just listen to a little bit of it, and then I will see you guys next month with another wrap-up. Hopefully I'll see you guys sooner with something else, but we'll see. Bye guys.
Music stop, but come on, strip that down for me, baby. Now there's a lot of people in the crowd, but only you can dance to me. So put your hands on my body and swing that round for me, baby. You know I love it when the music stops, but come on, strip that down for me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.